Hey everybody. So for today's movie review, I'm going to talk about the film 444 Last Day on Earth. It is a Wisconsin Film Festival film that premiered in Madison, Wisconsin, and I believe it also had a short-term limited release in other cities. So if you don't live in Wisconsin, there was probably a good chance that you might have had it in whatever place you live in as well. But it did have a limited release, so it didn't really play at a lot of like local movie theaters, like like Star Cinema or Marcus Theaters, or a lot of the theaters that are in other states as well. But this film was directed by Abel Ferreira, a director I'm not familiar with, but by looking at his filmography, it looks like he has directed and has been a lot of other film productions throughout his career. And this film also stars Willem Dafoe, Shannon Lee, Natasha Lyonne from American Pie fame, and it looks like we have quite a few other people here that I don't recognize, but those are the three people that I recognize, and they had important roles in the film. But anyway, guys, 444 Last Day on Earth, it takes place a few hours before Earth ends. And so it's like the end of the world, and people are prepping for it. They're doing all their last minute things that they always wanted to do throughout the course of their lives. They're spending time with friends and family, while others are unfortunately wasting it away with alcohol and drugs and sex and prostitution and things that you would never expect some people to do if the world came to an end. Um, but most of this film focuses around a couple whose names are Cisco and Skia, and they're played by Willem Dafoe and Shannon Lee, respectively. And they're both artists. And from what I got from the film, it seems like Willem Dafoe plays an actor of some kind, and Shannon Lee is some kind of a painter. And throughout the film, she's always painting something on the ground that you never quite know what it is, but it is revealed at the end of the film. I won't say what it is because most people haven't seen this film yet, but what she's painting throughout the film is important to kind of a metaphor that the film uses near the end of the story. And Willem Dafoe is always on his computer throughout the film. He's always talking to family members and friends, and he's listening to music that his friends are always making for him. So he's always on Skype doing that on his computer. So he's busy doing that in this movie. And so, pretty much throughout the rest of this film, it's really about what this couple really wants to do with each other before their life ends, before everybody else's life ends as well. And this film, what I really liked about it, guys, is it really has a sense of apocalypse. It has a sense of the world ending. That what was also kind of cool too is they also had the news channel. Like it always had a TV channel on. They had the news on it, and what was kind of cool was um, they didn't have the people reporting like you would normally see on the news. They would just have like screenshots and like photo galleries playing on it all the time. So that way the people who worked for the news programs could go see their friends and family too before the world ended. And for those who are wondering what this film's approach is as far as the apocalypse is, what I got out of it is Willem Dafoe explained at the beginning of the film that the Earth's ozone layer ran into some kind of problems, and the whole Al Gore inconvenient truth thing started to become true. Like the global warming came into effect at this point, and so there was a whole bunch of problems going on with the Earth. It's kind of a dystopian future in a way of real life society. It's kind of a dystopian version of that. Um, there's a lot of like crime going on the streets too. So people are just living it up. I mean, the world's ending, and it's quite clear that people are doing whatever they can to the fullest before everybody's life ends. Um, and so it turns out at one point in the film too, Willem Dafoe it gets a hold of. Um, it's never quite clear if it's some family members or some friends that live down the street from his apartment. So he hangs out with them for a bit, and they're exposed to several kinds of alcohol and drugs, and they really don't even talk. They just kind of mess around and talk about crap that they randomly think about in their heads. And I think that's kind of the director's vision of these characters having so much alcohol and drugs in their system that they're really not even making sense when it comes to talking to friends and everything else. So that was kind of an awkward scene. So this film, you guys, it's more about kind of the idea of what it would be like if We knew the exact hour and minute the world ended. What would it be like if people knew about this apocalypse coming soon and they only had a few hours left to kind of celebrate whatever they had? Um, it was kind of a unique play on what would the good people do and what would the bad people do, or what would our everyday people that we think we know of or know their every action, what would kind of be a strange behavior they would have if they found out the world ended, like what would they choose to do instead of being with their friends and family, or would they be with their friends and family? Would they pursue like a last minute hobby? Would they visit someplace? So this film it kind of takes on all those things. So that's another interesting aspect about it. And surprisingly, it's only an hour and 22 minutes long. Um, but we get to see all that perspective done through this couple's perspective, played by Willem Dafoe and Shannon Lee. One thing I will tell you, and it won't ruin the ending, but it does kind of give you a sense of things that happen toward the end of the film, is Cisco and Skia, Willem Dafoe and Shannon Lee, they're holding each other in each other's arms. And this is kind of not even a secret because if you watch the trailer, they show this briefly too. Um, and they're talking about life and they're talking about things that they remember. And it's kind of interesting. There's a whole sequence in this film where their life flashes in front of their eyes. They remember things as a kid, things as they were teenagers, things as adults, things that happened recently. So that was a very interesting sequence the film took on. So this film is more about kind of the idea of the apocalypse rather than saying, there's this complex story with this struggling husband taking care of these kids, and it's really not that kind of a film. It's more of this is a view of the apocalypse, and this is how it would play out if the Earth ended like this. It's that kind of a film, I think. So this film was good, you guys. I give it an 8 out of 10. It had a unique take on the whole apocalypse. Um, I thought the whole recording random people and like people on YouTube and religious figures and the news reporters all having their voice on how much they predicted this apocalypse, and it was just a very unique way that the film played out. And I thought it was very. You can tell they were able to make this on a limited budget, but it was very interesting in how they chose to pursue this film. So that's another thing I really liked about this film. So 444 Last Day on Earth, you guys. I give it an 8 out of 10. It's good. I wouldn't say it's as good as like I Am Legend or what's another apocalypse film. Um, but I Am Legend's one of my top favorite apocalypse films. I wouldn't say it's as good as Book of Eli either, but that's just my opinion. Um, it's a good film, you guys. Make sure you check it out if you like this whole apocalyptic theme to films.